600,000 Rohingyas have gone into Bangladesh. And if you are supporting Myanmar, how will we send them back? Then we change. Not only we said that we will not say it, but also we decided to support Bangladesh to look after the Rohingya refugees. And also we started some developments within Myanmar in a place called Rakhine State. So we changed our policy again. But CA and other things, it's not an issue, if you ask me. Because we had the authority to do this even without it. Isn't it? According to the original citizenship rule, Government of India can refuse anybody, can take anybody. But what was the need to say only Parsis and Christians and not Muslims? And that is the one which created the problem. And it has become now a big Hindu-Muslim issue, which is not. It doesn't affect the Muslims in India in any way. And without any amendment, we could have thrown out anybody from India. So, unnecessary. But the opposition got all of an opportunity. They were completely defeated, but now they have come up. Though they don't know what to ask for, though. Anything else?
Should the candidate aspiring to get into the foreign services, should we do our preparation any different?
No, the examination is the same. They will teach you foreign policy after you join. No need to learn another foreign language, no need to specialize in international affairs, not required. Because the examination is the same as you know. It depends where you are on the list, whether you get foreign service or not. When I took the examination, unless you were in the first 10, you could not get the foreign service. Now even if it's 250, you can get the foreign service. That's the tragedy of the foreign service. People don't want the service because they think that it's some impossible kind of thing. But the real reason is corruption. There is no money in the foreign service. No bribe in the foreign service. 37 years, nobody has offered me any bribe, nor have I given any bribe. But in the IAS and the IPS, one signature, 2 crores will be credited to your bank account. That's truth. So people ask me, why is it that people don't opt for the foreign service? I said, foreign service has not become less attractive, but other things have become more attractive. That's all. Otherwise, I'm a foreign policy messiah, I always talk about it. Because there is no other service which is more exciting than the foreign service. And don't think that you have to live in America with the Indian allowance, nothing like that. Everything is taken care of, including children's education. There is no government official who gets everything free from the government. No housing, water, electricity, newspaper, phone. You don't need a salary really. And on top of it, you get salary and also you get a foreign allowance. And you get an entertainment allowance and any kind of allowance. So if you are honest, foreign service is the best. But if you are corrupt, then the foreign service is no good for you. Nobody will say it openly. They'll say, oh, I want my daughter to live in India and my son. That kind of thing. One day, a rich man in Trivandrum, not a friend, but he knew me, so he came and told, Sare, ende moളുടെ ജീവിതം സാർ നശിപ്പിച്ചു. I said, what have I done? Because there was this boy, when he was taking the examination, etc., this girl wanted to marry him. And when the choice came, he joined the foreign service. And so the parents did not want her to marry a foreign service officer. So they went and asked him, why did you should have joined the IAS. They said, no, Srinivas sir പറഞ്ഞിട്ടാണ് ഞാൻ. So I said, don't worry, if she marries him, he'll have a more exciting life than any other. But they are not convinced. All rich men want their daughters to marry IAS officers. So, in other words, no need to do anything special till you pass the exam. Then 2 years you go through training program. Then they send you abroad to learn the language. The language is allotted to you. So that's all the responsibility of the government. Your responsibility is only to get onto the list. That's all. And even language, there is no particular advantage. But in the interview, they'll ask a lot of foreign policy questions if you have opted for the foreign service. That is normal.
Sir, as a diplomat, do we have a say on government to form a foreign policy or change an existing foreign policy?
Very much so. How is foreign policy made? By a series of actions. It's not that one day Modi gets up in the morning and say, I'll be now friendly with so-and-so. You have a series of activities going on all the time. And we are the ones who carry them out, right? And we give them the feedback, how it is affecting our foreign policy, not affecting, etc. So that's a collective. Nobody will come and ask you, shall I change foreign policy from us? No, not that way. But in the process of implementing foreign policy, the feedback that they get in the ministry, and that is what makes foreign policy.
So final decision is made.
Of course, by the government.
By the
When I have my junior officer sitting in Delhi taking more important decisions than I am doing it from Washington. Because in the embassy you don't make policy. Because we don't have a full picture. I can only tell them what is happening in Washington, right? But they have to see what's happening in Kathmandu, what's happening in Islamabad. All those picture I don't have. So if you recommend something and they don't accept it, we don't feel bad. Because we don't know. And I was in Delhi also. I was in the Foreign Secretary's office as a special assistant to the Foreign Secretary. So I've seen foreign policy making at very close quarters. So inputs come from everybody, not only from the Foreign Service. We also have a intelligence service, you know that, RAW. They also put in a lot of information.
So one more question. Recently we signed we accepted some agreements with the United States that our facilities, if they want, they can use as their base. So my concern is, in future, the United States and Iran will go in a war or some aggressive manner. So how our government policies towards the Iran will affect?
No, it won't. This is the agreement that I talked about. I said no, Manmohan Singh refused to sign these agreements. There were 3 fundamental agreements that they wanted us to sign. Then only you can get sensitive American equipment. They will give you F-16, but they will take the guns out of it. You know, so if you have to get real military equipment from the Americans, we have to sign these 3 agreements. One on exchange of information, in the sense that we have to tell them what we are buying, they are supposed to tell us what they are buying, selling, etc. So the other one is what you mentioned, the logistics. That is only in the context of using those weapons we buy from them. We are not committed to their doing something else, no. But the weapons that we buy from them, whether it is aircraft or ship or whatever, and for that they have access. Suppose a plane is stuck in Mumbai or something. It's a military aircraft. You can't say, no, the Americans cannot come and see it. You know, that similarly for us also access. And in a worse situation, maybe it can happen. You know, they can prevent you from using a weapon or something like that. So that is why we were not willing to sign it. And the third is, final user agreement. Because you have to tell them who you are going to use it against. That's also a very difficult thing. So they, for example, will not give you anything if we say we are going to use it against Pakistan or some other country. But China, they don't mind. Soviet Union, they don't mind like that. But that we have not signed yet. End user agreement is called. So out of these 3, 2 we have already signed. But end user agreement, the problem is, if you say we are using it against Pakistan, they will not supply it to you. So only their enemies we can buy it for. Or you have to say it's internal use and all. So, but if there is a war, we support or not support depending on your attitude. Because during the Gulf War, we gave support. You know, when the war against Iraq took place. And also when there was war in Afghanistan, American planes used to, refuel in India during VP Singh's days. So such things we have given even without those agreements. Anything else?
ഇന്ത്യ ന്യൂക്ലിയർ വെപ്പൺ ടെസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്ന സമയത്ത്
മനസ്സിലുകൊണ്ടായിരിക്കും ഇങ്ങനെ ഇന്റർവ്യൂ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അപ്പൊ അത് മാത്രമല്ല, അത് ഈ ഇന്ത്യ മറ്റ് കൺട്രീസിനെതിരെ ഉപയോഗിക്കുമെന്നുള്ള ഒരു ഭയമാണോ, അതോ യുഎസിന്റെ പവർ കാണിക്കുന്നതിന്?
രണ്ടുമുണ്ട്. ഇപ്പൊ പക്ഷെ ഇതൊക്കെ ഇറലവൻ്റ് ആയിപ്പോയി. ഇപ്പോൾ അവരുടെ സാറ്റലൈറ്റിൽ നിന്ന് അവർ നമ്മൾ കൊക്കക്കോളയുടെ നമ്പർ വരെ ബ്രാൻഡ് വരെ കാണാൻ പറ്റും. സോ ഈ സർവൈലൻസിനൊന്നും ഇപ്പോൾ ഒരു അർത്ഥമില്ല. ആൻഡ് ആഫ്റ്റർ ഫ്യൂ ഇയേഴ്സ് നത്തിങ്, ദേ വിൽ ബി ഏബിൾ ടു സിറ്റ് ഇൻ ദെയർ ലിവിംഗ് റൂം ആൻഡ് സീ ഓൾ ഓഫ് അസ്. അങ്ങനെയല്ല, ടെക്നോളജി അങ്ങനെയല്ല ഇപ്പോൾ വളരുന്നത്. പണ്ടൊക്കെയാണ് സാറ്റലൈറ്റ് എപ്പോഴാണ് വരുന്നത് എന്നൊക്കെ, അതൊക്കെ മാറിപ്പോയി കംപ്ലീറ്റ്ലി. പക്ഷേ but the test about 1998 was they did not know. That was why Clinton was so angry, because CIA did not know. And so it was the State Department which told the CIA after Vajpayee had declared. So the Americans felt very offended by it. They are supposed to be everywhere. And you know how it happened? It happened because on an earlier occasion when Narasimha Rao was planning a test, and he had not told everybody, but the Americans took a picture of Pokhran, of their Abdul Kalam and other scientists, Chidambaram, and they were all in uniform, military uniform, walking around in Pokhran. And they got a picture of them. Actually, they could identify them, that kind of photograph. The American ambassador came and showed it to Narasimha Rao, saying that we know that you are testing. Narasimha Rao said, I don't know, they might be just roaming around there or something like that. But Narasimha Rao very cleverly kept those photographs. He didn't return it to the Americans. Okay? And then he handed it over to our ISRO and asked them to find out which satellite is this and what time does it come over India. They found that out. It was only for 2 hours a day. So those 2 hours, Abdul Kalam and Chidambaram went underground. And so an American mistake led to that. And so they could not find out that we were doing anything in Pokhran. They sent a special messenger, President Clinton, 10 days before the test, sent somebody, one of his ambassadors, to Narasimha Rao, to Vajpayee, to ask whether you will test or not. Frontally, he came and asked. So Vajpayee just smiles, he doesn't answer. That's why it's called Buddha's smile. So he came back and reported that he's not going to do it. He's a very nice man. He was smiling when I told him. And the 5th day there was an explosion. So this surveillance, it is no more a crime or anything. Everybody knows everything these days, particularly for India. But this date of our explosion was not known to the Americans, that we know. But surveillance everybody does. We do it all the time among our neighbors. What else do we do with the Air Force? We don't fight every day. They go and look at everything.